Welcome to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada's webcast called Finding Gratitude and Practicing Yoga and Meditation During COVID-19. In the first part of this webcast, we will hear from Myra Husick about her experience of living with blood cancer and how to stay positive in challenging times. She will share her daily practice of gratitude and how she manages to stay positive. In the second part, Rachel Hayek, yoga teacher and wellness coach, will join us to explain the benefits of stretching, yoga, and meditation. She will introduce participants to breathing techniques, alignment, mindful movement, and walk us through a guided meditation. My name is Sonia Muto. I'm the Community Program Coordinator for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada. I will be the host of this online event. During the webcast, you will hear only my voice and the speaker's voice. The presentation will last approximately 45 minutes and will be followed by a 15-minute question and answer period. Because there are many of you, questions may be asked at the end, but only online using the questions or chat function. This presentation is also being recorded, so therefore you will be able to listen to it again on our website while following along with the PowerPoint presentation. We will send you an email when the recording is available. Next slide, please. At the LLSC, our mission is to cure blood cancers and improve the quality of life for patients and their families. We offer guidance and support to people affected by blood cancer every step of the way. We offer a vast array of services and educational resources to help people affected by blood cancer and their families. One such service is our peer support program. It is a program that matches people affected by blood cancer, caregivers, and their families with trained volunteers who have been touched firsthand by a blood cancer and share similar experiences. It can be a useful program these days to counter the effects of isolation. We know the current situation presents many challenges to you and your family. The community engagement managers can help. They are compassionate connectors that can help you cope with your anxiety and isolation during these times. You can reach out to a community engagement manager in your area by calling toll-free 1-833-222-4884. You are not alone. It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker for today, Myra Husick. Myra was diagnosed with stage 4 follicular lymphoma back in 2011. Her blood cancer experience consisted of a lengthy treatment, lung surgery, a diagnosis of fibromyalgia, and a second round in watch and wait, which is where she remains today. Like so many Canadians, Myra is following the advice of public health authorities to try to limit the exposure and spread of the COVID-19 virus. She remains in self-isolation, temporarily separated from her 3 teenage daughters. I'd like to send it over to you, Myra.
Hi, everybody. I am honored, humbled, and grateful to be speaking with you today. Thank you to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada for this sharing opportunity on the practice of gratitude. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope that you all find this a useful tool during these very trying times. I just wanted to share a little bit more about myself. So following my diagnosis in 2011, I sat in watch and wait for just over 2 years. And when my cancer progressed, I started treatment, which carried on for 2.5 years. So just prior to finishing treatment, the doctors discovered a tumor on my lung. I had the tumor removed, which ended up being non-cancerous to the surprise of all the specialists. But then months following my surgery, I was in immense pain. I'd never, ever felt this kind of pain before. It took 8 months, and I was finally diagnosed with fibromyalgia. So if I have anxiety on a given day, as you can imagine what we're living today, my fibro will flare, so I'm left trying to manage my pain. If I have pain, I'm left wondering, is it the lymphoma or is it the fibromyalgia? It can be a vicious circle. So I have been on watch and wait for a second time since March of 2016. I live in constant uncertainty, waiting for the other shoe to drop. There is no cure at the moment for my lymphoma, so I try to focus on the positive and keep my anxiety in check in the hope that I will reduce the pain from my fibro. So a lot of people ask me, how do I remain so positive when all this negative stuff is thrown at me? I take a step back and I put my illness and overall situation into perspective, pandemic included. I focus on all the good I have in my life. I know it sounds simple. I practice gratitude, kindness, and meditate every day if I can, because it makes me happier. It makes me feel more joy, and it results in my having to take less pain and anxiety medications. It also helps me to stay in the now, in the current moment, because really that's all we have. So the hardest part of this journey is realizing that I no longer have any control over my future. But if you think about it, none of us do really, in the grand scheme of things. So I soon realized that the only thing I did have control over were my thoughts. More on that in a bit. But here are a few quotes that I keep in the back of my head at all times. They help reset my mind space. That changed. Okay. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And the best way to cheer yourself is to try to cheer someone else up. So I read somewhere that the key is to invest in your life one day at a time. So began my road into the meditation and practicing gratitude and kindness. I believe gratitude and kindness go hand in hand. I thought I would pull out some definitions of some of the key words that we are hearing today in the news amidst this global pandemic. You will see how intertwined they are. Gratitude, kindness, compassion, and empathy. Given the current pandemic situation, we are all being asked to be kind, to be compassionate and empathetic towards those more vulnerable, our family, and our community as a whole. We are being told to self-isolate. Yes, definitely hard, but we are asked to think of others at this time. These qualities and abilities have never been more important than they are now during these difficult times. I believe the daily practice of gratitude strengthens one's ability to be kind, compassionate, and empathetic. According to Robert Emmons, who is one of the world's foremost experts on gratitude, he reported that practicing gratitude can increase your happiness levels by 25%. In my opinion, the side effects of practicing can bring more appreciation, thankfulness, and of course, gratefulness to your life. So what is practicing gratitude? Practicing gratitude is a choice. It's a shift in the mindset. It's really about focusing on the bright side of things instead of focusing on the negative. I'm not saying that I never have a negative thought, because I do have them. I'm pretty sure we all have them at this time. And as cancer patients, we have them for sure. I try not to focus on the negative or stay in that mindset too long. It can be a challenge, but I work on being positive every day. I'll talk a little bit about the power of your thoughts and then what does practicing gratitude look like. So I call these my kick in the butt quotes. There is enormous power in your thoughts, so choose them wisely. Be kind to yourself. You may not have control in what happens to you. However, you do have control over your thoughts, and that is extremely powerful. Don't give away this power. As you probably already have heard, the mind can have a huge impact on your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. In the eyes of a global pandemic, what better time to start a practice of gratitude? So what does that mean? What does practicing gratitude look like? Well, I went to one of my favorite applications, Pinterest, and picked this out. So, how many of these do we take for granted? How many times do we consciously even think of these? I mean, I don't think in cleaning a toilet I ever thought about how grateful I am to have indoor plumbing. I know a lot of these are obvious and they probably represent things we just take for granted day to day. However, when you read them, how can you not feel fortunate and grateful for some of the simple things in life when you know that there's many around the world that don't even know what these are or will never experience them? So here's how I practice gratitude and kindness. I actually write in a journal so that if I'm having a bad day, and I have them, I take out the journal and I read it to remind myself of not only how far I've come on this journey, but also to remind me of all the things that I'm grateful for. The good news is there's no wrong way to do this. So one of the ways I practice gratitude is I send out quotes to friends that I randomly select on a given day, telling them how grateful I am to have them in my life, what they mean to me, and actually, as a result, I actually have friends that are sending me quotes, and it's kind of interesting that those quotes usually arrive when I least expect it and when I actually need to hear them. So I also send quotes to myself. So sometimes I'm reading and I see something that, I don't know, resonates with me. So I either write in my journal or I collect them and then I print them out and I include them in my journal. I also send out quotes to my 3 daughters, expressing how grateful I am to have them in my life and how much joy they bring to me. I'm doing this more now than ever, given I haven't seen them for almost 6 weeks. I'm just going to drink some water. For the month of April, I thought I'd do something new. I selected a quote recipient who will receive a daily quote from me. I selected my 17-year-old nephew, who seems to be struggling with all of the self-isolation. I haven't done it before, like I said, but I take great pleasure in finding something that will either help him appreciate the life he has, or something that makes him laugh, or something that may hopefully just inspire him. As I mentioned before, I also take time to journal or record voice memos that are later added to my journal. Here are just a few of the things that I am grateful for. I am grateful for my daughters, my family, and friends that have become part of my family. I feel so blessed to have them in my life. I can't believe this is actually coming out of my mouth, but I'm going to say it. I'm grateful for technology. I'm grateful to have FaceTime because I actually have virtual human contact. I am grateful for all those that fundraise for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in the hopes that there will be a cure for not only my cancer, but for all blood cancers. I am grateful that this cancer has given me an appreciation for my life. It has caused me to focus on the present and appreciate the now. I am grateful for my team of specialists because I trust in their handling of my disease while I focus on my mind, my body, and my spirit. I am grateful to all those in my family for delivering food, wine, and my medications to my front door. I am grateful for having hope because there is no one that can take that away from me. A friend of mine just recently shared that before bed, she writes down 3 things that happened that day that she's grateful for. I love this idea, and I'm going to add it actually to my daily routine. What a beautiful way to finish the day, with a grateful heart and positive mindset. So part of practicing gratitude in my situation also includes being kind to myself. I can have bad days, and that's okay. Those bad days when I'm in immense pain allow me to better appreciate the days when my pain is tolerable. So I'm grateful in knowing that the pain is only temporary and it will pass. Another practice of mine comes at every family holiday. It's about giving back to those less fortunate, and I've been doing this for over 20 years. Growing up in an Eastern European household, we always had an abundance of food. It was just the 4 of us, but my mom cooked like there was 12. Because I'm grateful for the abundance of food and the family I have to share it with, I show this gratitude and appreciation by buying meals for the homeless in Montreal for Thanksgiving, Easter, and Christmas, all those special family holidays. I also try to do one random act of kindness. It's harder to do under self-isolation, I admit, but if there's an opportunity, I will do it. It's as simple as letting someone cut in line at Costco because they only have 2 items. I know that's rare. You guys have probably never seen anybody with 2 items at Costco, but I do. I'm just going to say I do think that Costco should have an express line. So just simple things like that. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. This is a hard one. So if someone says or does something that is hurtful, I choose to let it go, and I try not to take it personally. I really try. I choose to have compassion for them because I don't know what is going on in their life. Obviously, my immediate family is excluded from this, but I also believe that people that are hurt other people. So I try to live without judging others because I haven't walked in their shoes and I haven't lived their life. Also, when faced with a negative event, I deep dive and ask myself, what can I learn from this event? I write and journal my thoughts and emotions and try to see if there's something in the situation that I can be grateful for, or at least have a better understanding of. So, given my isolation during the pandemic, I am grateful for all those beautiful and courageous people who are on the front lines and for those behind the scenes. I am appreciative and grateful for all of my FaceTime calls from my family and friends, and again, all of the food, wine, medication deliveries, and my ex-husband included. If we try to put this pandemic into perspective, I believe it is teaching us to take a pause and look inwards and focus on what's important: family, friends, and a sense of community. I will leave you with this. It is a great example of how to take an absolutely difficult event and decide and choose to look at it through a positive lens. So my girls returned from March break with their dad on March 8th. The last time I hugged them was February 28th. Public health instructed me to isolate from them for 2 weeks, given my health situation. Well, given the community spread, and on the recommendation of one of my specialists, I remain in self-isolation given the inherent risks associated with my ex-husband's blended family. So my 13-and-a-half-year-old yellow lab Whiskey took a turn for the worse when the girls were on vacation, and when they arrived home at their dad's, I had to make a heart-wrenching decision. It was time to put him down. My vet would normally do this at my house, but given the pandemic situation, all vet clinics had strict guidelines and protocols to follow. I couldn't go into the clinic. It was too risky for my health. So in a heap of tears and going against what I promised my dog, which was that I would hold his paw while he slipped away peacefully, I called my girls and asked my ex-husband if he could take on this huge ask for me, for our girls, and for Whiskey. I was so grateful and appreciative of him when he said, "Yes, Myra, of course." Although I couldn't hold Whiskey's paw, my reflection of the situation, even though it wasn't what I promised my best friend, turned into a beautiful moment of a divorced family coming together to be there for their beloved pet. I was so grateful that in the end, this was the best outcome for all of us. Everyone had a chance to say goodbye to our beloved dog. I am so grateful that Whiskey had to leave us early in this self-isolation. I know he's at peace and no longer suffering. I am also grateful that I'm not entirely alone, as I have my little wiener dog Cooper with me, and together we are getting through this situation as best as we can, one day at a time. So let's be kind and grateful that we are all in this together. I will quote my absolutely favorite newscaster from CNN, who actually tested positive for the coronavirus, Mr. Chris Cuomo: "Together as ever as one." Thank you, and I'm grateful for having this time to share with you.
Thank you so much, Myra. Really appreciate that. I'd like to take a moment now to introduce our second speaker for today. Her name is Rachel Hayek. Rachel is a Hatha yoga instructor and wellness coach. On any given day, Rachel is participating in one or more of her passions. She's writing, facilitating, coaching, and teaching on the mat. Her core messages are self-love, going inwards, honoring nature, nourishment in every aspect, and kindness. Over to you, Rachel.
Hello, thank you so much for joining me here today. My intention today is to create meaningful connection for you. And I want to make yoga relatable and accessible. So just getting onto my slides here, bear with me for a moment. So something I would like to share with you, there are some ideas about yoga being inaccessible, or I need to be flexible to do yoga. I'm here to tell you that the only thing that you need is your breath and your intention. There we go, that's better. All you need is your breath and your intention. One of the things that we're gonna talk about today is how to observe our thoughts, and Myra did such a beautiful job of talking about the inner dialogue that happens and practicing gratitude for that. One of the tools that I like to use is imagining that my thoughts are like little boats bobbing in a stream. And as I'm watching these thoughts bob by, I can choose to get involved with them or not. And that takes a lot of practice, and sometimes I'm not very good at it. But the thing about practice is that you keep coming back to it and you do it on a regular basis. So when it comes to meditation and yoga, the reason these are called practices is because it's going to be different each time you do it. It's never going to be perfect, but it might be perfectly what you need in that moment. One of the founders of yoga, or not founders of yoga, but somebody who brought yoga to North America said that yoga without the yamas and the niyamas is simply acrobatics. And what that means is that yoga without the principles of loving kindness, intention, detachment, all of these concepts make it what it is. And yoga itself means union. So what we're aiming to do today is to create some union with ourselves, so to practice some self-love. So the first thing that I want to dig into is, oh, there we go. I'm trying to change the slides here, bear with me. Okay, that's all right.
Try using your keyboard. Try using your keyboard.
Yeah, I am.
Or if not, Myra, maybe you can change them for her.
Okay, well, we'll move on. So we're going to talk about practicing at home. And one of the things that I like to offer is to work with the space that you have. So to keep it simple and uncluttered, and to put things in your space that you love. So maybe there's a plant that you want to have in that space, or a crystal, or a picture of somebody you love, or maybe some art. So create a space that works for you, work with the space that you have, and have things nearby that make you comfortable. Maybe you want to have a blanket or pillow, and we're going to talk a little bit about props in a couple minutes. Something else that I love to talk about is this concept of ahimsa. So in that quote, I mentioned the yamas, and yamas are principles of do not. Ahimsa means do no harm, or non-harming in your thoughts, words, and deeds. And non-harming is very, very important, because yoga in many ways is the opposite of other physical types of activity. So we have this idea of pushing ourselves and striving and working hard, and yoga is about connecting with self and honoring where you are in the moment. And so if there's ever any risk of doing harm, stop. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice I can give you about your yoga practice. And of course, we always recommend talking to your medical practitioner, whether that's a doctor or a specialist, because they know your physical limitations. So when you think about waking up in the morning, the first thing, or one of the first things your body does, is automatically like reach and stretch. And that's because the body wants to stretch, it wants to expand, and it wants to elongate. That is automatic. And so through this practice, we're simply bringing that into more aspects of our lives. And in North America, because we live such a sedentary lifestyle, we're sitting so much, and especially now that we are in this space of self-isolation and some of us in quarantine, we're looking at our computer screens, and of course we're seated while we're doing that. So it's very important to decompress. So one of the things that you can do is understand, where are your edges? So what that means is, maybe you're a little bit stiff in the morning and you do a little stretch like this, and you feel a little bit of tension, and that's okay. It's okay to feel a little bit of tension. But if you go further and it actually hurts, you want to pull back from that. So your edge is that place where you might be a little bit challenged, but you're not in a place of pain. So very, very important. Some of the benefits of yoga as well, we've got so many amazing systems in our body, and yoga supports all of them. So starting with our physical, we've got our respiratory system, we've got our circulatory system, we've got our immune system. And how I think one of the ways yoga works so well with all of these systems is that it helps to calm us down, and that of course in turn supports all of the systems in the body. It can help to lower blood pressure. It can help with so many different things that cause stress in our lives. And then we look at the mental side of that. And so again, going back to those thoughts bobbing in that stream. So instead of getting like hyper involved with those thoughts, it's almost like we're with our thoughts, but we're kind of taking a step back and we're just watching them float by. And by choosing not to become involved, and again, this takes practice, and even once you're practiced, you might not get it every time. So be kind and patient with yourself. That practice of not getting involved with your thoughts can be very, very powerful and have great benefits, again, for your nervous system. And then when it comes to emotional, and again, I love what Myra shared too. I'm just gonna kind of try to quote her here. She was talking about, there was one of the quotes on one of the cards that she showed about, it's okay to have a meltdown, just let those feelings come up and flow out of you, or something to that effect. And yoga can really help open up what's just kind of bubbling under the surface and help us to release some of the big feelings that we have. So I wish I had more time to talk about that, but maybe another time. So let's move into some breath. So I'm gonna just ask you to take a moment and close your eyes, find a comfortable seat, and just notice your breath right now. And notice, when your inhale ends, where is it in your body? Is it in your upper chest? Is it in your belly? Is it more towards your heart? Just notice where your breath is. And now I want you to consider that your lungs go all the way down below your belly button. So together, we're going to take a deep breath in. So when you're ready, let's inhale through the nose, filling the belly with air. And let's hold that at the top of the breath. And then exhale as slowly as you inhaled. And now check in with yourself. Just notice Notice if there's any difference. Notice how that felt. Notice any other sensations in the body. So one of the things that I like to think about with the breath is that the respiratory system is one of the eliminatory systems in the body. So through our exhale, we're actually expelling things that are not good for us. So by bringing our awareness to the breath and taking these deep cleansing breaths, we're actually removing stagnation from the body. One of my favorite yoga teachers says that the breath flows where our attention goes. So we're going to play right now for a moment and just practice sending our breath into different parts of the body. So again, find that comfortable seat. Let's inhale together, take a deep breath in, filling the belly with air. And then I want you to notice maybe we need to exhale because we need to keep breathing here. But on our next inhale, let's find a place in the body where maybe there's some tension. So for me today, it's in my upper back and shoulders. So wherever you have tension in your body, let's take that deep breath in. So let's inhale together, filling the belly with air. And now imagine that you're sending that breath to that area where there's tension. And on your exhale, imagine that some of that tension is just leaving the body. And just notice what that does. And so this simple practice of just paying attention to the breath can help you so much. The next thing I want to talk about on the next slide is about some things you can do to make sure that you are safe in your practice. So we're going to talk a little bit about props, stacking the joints, and checking in with our breath and what happens if there is pain or dizziness. So again, for safety, we always want to check in with our medical practitioner. So I'm going to stand up so that you can see a little bit of what I'm up to here. And I'm going to show you. So you can definitely have props like this, like a little yoga block, absolutely. But truly, all you really need is a pillow. It could be any pillow. So any props that you want to have in your home, you can have a blanket, you can have all the pillows that you want to make yourself comfortable. And props are a great way to make sure, for example, I'll just show you here. When you're sitting, if your knees are up like this, you can place a pillow or a block underneath that knee to protect yourself. And what happens in that case is that your muscles will actually start to relax because they're supported so that you can let go of some tension. The other thing I want to talk about is stacking the joints. So for example, if we're in a lunge, we want to make sure that the knee is over top of the ankle so that there's a straight line here. And the reason for that is we don't want to be bending sideways. The knee's a hinge joint, so it's meant to bend back and forth, not sideways. So we want to keep those joints nice and safe. And then we want to be able to always see, if we're in a lunge like this, the big toe on the inside of the knee. The other thing that's really important is to bend, have a little bend in your legs. So for example, if you're folding over, you want to keep a little bend in your knees to protect the knees, to protect the ankles. And then you also can do what's called a bandha lock. So Mula Bandha is in this part of the body. So you want to take your deep breath in, and it's almost like, you know that feeling when you have to go to the bathroom really bad and then you hold it? Those are the muscles you want to engage. And what that does is it engages your core and it also protects your low back. A couple other safety tips I want to mention are around bending over. So anybody who is pregnant or who has high blood pressure or is prone to dizziness, instead of doing a forward fold, You want to keep a little bend in your knees and keep your head above your heart. So maybe no higher than this, and that'll keep you nice and safe and protected. If you feel any dizziness as well, you can also stand up and hold your arms above your head. Oh, so you can't see me there. And hold your hands above your head so that the blood can flow back down to your heart, and that will help with the dizziness. So moving on, I want to just show you a couple of quick movements that we can do, and then we'll do a guided meditation. So moving along, if you like, you can follow along, or you can just watch. I'm just going to move my pillow out of the way. And so the first thing we're going to do is mountain pose. So we're going to take our feet 2 fists apart, and we're going to start to lift the kneecaps up, and then we're going to tuck the tailbone and pull the belly button in towards the spine. You might notice this naturally lifts up the sternum, and then we're going to roll the shoulders back and have our palms facing forward. And now I want you to imagine there's a golden thread pulling you upwards through the crown of your head, lengthening your spine, and then give your chin just a slight little tuck. There we go. And now, if you like, you can close your eyes, but in this posture, I want you to notice just how strong you are, how grounded you are, and how many muscle groups are engaged in something that looks like stillness. What I love about this posture is that it reminds us things don't necessarily look on the outside what they're like on the inside. So moving from mountain pose, we'll move into just some gentle movement. So let's do an inhale together, and we're going to bend the knees to protect those joints. And we're going to sweep the arms up towards the sky, and we're going to reach up, and then we're going to put our hands in prayer and bring them down. And we're going to fold, but for those of you with high blood pressure, or if anybody's pregnant, keep your hands on your thighs and stay here. For those feeling safe enough to fold over, you can just fold. And you can keep moving through this gentle flow. So inhale, bend into the knees deeply and sweep the arms up. And then just gently diving down. Inhale, sweep up. And exhale, dive down. Inhale, sweep up. And exhale, come down. Just like that. And then from here, I'm going to show you a little seated position that you can do. And then we'll move through some cat-cow. So this posture is called butterfly, and it's like the soles of your feet are kissing each other. So put the soles of your feet together, and you can play within the shape and find your own perfect variation. And know that this will change from day to day. One day you might have your legs up here and your legs might touch the ground. Another day you might have your legs more like a diamond shape. Some days you might want to gently fold over. Other days you might just want to sit up tall. So whatever works for you. This is called butterfly posture, and it's a great way to open up the hips. When you're coming out of the posture, you always want to use your hands to help your knees back up. And when you come out of a posture like this, we need to counteract what just happened. So one way to do that is to lean back on your hands and simply swish the legs back and forth like windshield wipers. That's a nice gentle movement. You can practice at home. Another one that is a tried and true yoga posture is cat-cow. So this one, you'll just come onto your knees. And again, we're going to practice that stacking. So have a look at your hands, spread your fingers nice and wide, pushing into the palms of your hands. Put a little bend in your elbows to keep those joints fluid. Knees are under the hips, toes are tucked. And now we're going to push the tailbone up as we push the heart forward and look up. Now we're going to exhale. We're going to arch the back like a cat. Inhale, lift your tail, look up, push the heart forward, and exhale. And you can flow through this as many times as you like at your own pace. And there are variations of this where you can even do it while you're sitting up. So if you're watching a movie or you're even on Zoom with a friend, you can just be seated and moving that arch spine back and forth, just like that. So since we're seated, feels like a good time to move into a little meditation. Those are some gentle movements you can do, and you can certainly play within those shapes and find your own variations. Again, the most important thing is to breathe and to listen to your body, play that edge. So I'm going to sit on my cushion. I invite you to sit on a cushion. You can have a blanket around you if that makes you comfortable. Make sure you feel safe and warm. And also know that when you're practicing meditation, you may need to shift your position several times throughout the meditation. That's normal. I think a lot of people believe they need to sit still during meditation, and while stillness is definitely the goal, it's not always possible. I know my feet fall asleep all the time, and that's perfectly normal. So we're gonna find that comfortable seat. It's nice to pull the flesh out from underneath you. I always like to wear nice loose clothes when I'm practicing yoga and meditation so I can move easily, and so I can be comfortable. So if you like, you can put your palms in your lap facing down, or your palms facing up. So down is for grounding, up is for receiving. So whatever you need in this moment. You can sit cross-legged, you can be in a chair, you can even be lying down. So let's take a breath in together. And then let's exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And one more like that, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Start to soften all the parts of your body wherever you can. Start to go inwards, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. In through the nose and out through the nose. I'd like to invite you to bring your hands together in prayer. So bringing together the yin and the yang energies, the inner and the outer worlds, finding stillness in this moment. I like to plug my thumbs into my sternum as I set my intention for my practice. So today the intention I'd like to offer you is gentleness. Gentleness towards yourself, gentleness towards whatever situation you find yourself in, and gentleness to those around you. As you continue to breathe, bring your attention to my voice. One of the things I find comforting in this time are the things that I can count on every day. Every day of my life, I know I can count on the sun to rise and the sun to set every single day. Every day of my life when I wake up, I know I can count on the waves of the ocean rolling in and rolling out. Every day of my life, I know I can count on my breath coming in and my breath going out. And as I navigate these times of uncertainty, I know that I can find comfort in these everyday things that I somehow have taken so for granted. And as I come into stillness, when I'm practicing. I know that I can use these everyday, seemingly mundane activities to ground me, to anchor me, to feel safe, to feel comforted. From here, place your hands in your lap. Again, you can have them facing down for grounding, facing up if you prefer to receive. And continue to breathe here. We're going to sit in a few moments of silence together, anchored, safe, in community, breathing together. And as you sit here breathing, just notice what you're observing in your mind, in your body, in your heart. And can you practice this intention of gentleness, gently sending your breath into those spaces that need some love and some light and some tenderness. And as you sit here and breathe, can you imagine that everything in your being is softening, tension is falling away, anything tight is relaxing, anything uncomfortable is releasing. And whatever is coming up for you in this moment, I want you to trust that it's perfect. And I want to invite you to observe what is happening without judgment, with gentleness. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose, filling the belly with air. And then exhale through an open mouth. You can make it loud. And from here, bring your palms together in front of you. And we're going to rub them vigorously. creating a little bit of heat and a little bit of friction. And now I invite you to place your hands in front of your eyes without touching them. And just feel that little sparkle that's happening. Feel that energy. And gently open your eyes, fluttering your eyelids open, and come back into your space. Welcome back. So whenever you're practicing any sort of meditation or mindful movement, set an intention for yourself. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very, very simple. And that practice of observing your thoughts bobbing by like that little boat in the water, such a powerful practice. It's easy for me to talk about it. It's harder to do it. So one of the things that I want to end this little talk with, pull my chair back over and sit with you, is to be kind to yourself. As you're continuing your practice at home, it might be hard. Something I've learned is the days when it is hardest for me to practice, those are the days I benefit most and have the most extraordinary practices. So if you wake up in the morning and your practice is in the morning and you think, I don't want to do it today, I just want to stay in bed, challenge yourself to step out of bed and step into that practice. And I promise you, it will bring you benefit. Again, just keep coming back to it. Know that it's going to look different every day, and just keep going. A couple of my favorite teachers are Sean Korn is a teacher out of the U.S., Jai Dev, as well as from California, and Wesley Salter is here in Vancouver, and all of them provide instruction online. Lots of free yoga and meditation online right now. There are lots of apps you can access, and then there's many beautiful books that you can check out. So I'm going to hand it back to Sonia now. Thank you so much. Namaste and be well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. That was very relaxing. Myra's back on as well. So we're going to head on to our question and answer period. So I want to remind everyone to use the questions or the chat functions to pose your questions. And please remember that we will be taking questions that are in relation to the topic discussed here today. If you do have any specific questions that are related to your blood cancer diagnosis, I would like to invite you to reach out to our community engagement managers at canadainfo@lls.org, or you can call toll free at 1-833-222-4884. So I will go take a look at the questions we have received so far. This one, I think, Rachel, is for you. How can yoga be performed if someone has so much pain in their hips that they can't walk without a walker and canes are not an option?
That's a really good question. And again, I always encourage you to talk to your medical practitioner, your team of medical practitioners. And I think, movement looks differently for every person. So anything you can do, again, getting to know your limitations, simple rotations can be very effective. So rotating the wrists, rotating the ankles. If you're with a walker, can you move your hips from side to side? Can you rotate your hips? And again, I can't stress enough to talk to your doctor about that too. But any movement that you can do, combining that with deep breathing, it's doing what you can in the moment. So if there's a lot of tightness or stiffness or limited mobility, find movements that you can do and breathe deeply into those, and then just notice and celebrate your successes. And don't be discouraged if you wake up one day and you can't do as much as you did the day before. Be kind and be gentle with yourself.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I do have another question here. This person is keen to learn how to share the gratitude with some stressed colleagues. So I think, Myra, that would be a good one for you.
How to share?
Yes.
Can you repeat?
This person would like to know how to share gratitude with stressed colleagues.
Well, there's so much out there on practicing gratitude. I mean, if this person's trying to show kind of how to do it, or maybe take a moment at lunch or on you know, on a webinar or whatever. Everybody's, I think, working from home now, and just share what they're grateful for in their work. And Pinterest has so many different, I guess, gratitude questions, or just, I guess, inspiration on how to practice gratitude. I would go there and look. It's really easy to find something, but I know it's stressful times. It's not easy, but I read the other day that always after the rain, there's always a rainbow. So hopefully, hopefully that helps a bit.
Thank you, Myra. I have another question here. What type of yoga or meditation practice do you recommend if you live in a busy home with kids or lots of people?
That's a good one. So I would say involve them if you can. It's fun to practice together. If you have children, one of the things that I like to incorporate into yoga with kids is costumes and musical instruments. If you don't have a musical instrument, you can use just a pan and a wooden spoon to make it really fun for them. And getting them moving is a good way to calm them down as well. I also like one of the intentions with yoga is to find inner stillness no matter what. And so it's, if you can practice in a space that's really, really busy, then you have done what so many people can do. So it's easy to practice yoga when you have a beautiful space like this and it's super quiet. But just keep practicing, and maybe create some agreements with the people in your household during, you know, from this time to this time, I'm in my practice, so I'm going to close the door. You can also go outside. It's getting, depending where you are, I'm in Vancouver, I'm very fortunate I can go outside and practice right now. So as it gets warmer, outside is another great option. But again, just keep practicing, and the more that you practice, you'll find the easier it will get, regardless of the amount of noise that's around you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. I have a question here. Actually, you know what? It probably apply to either of you. I have heard reference to meditation so many times since being treated. Please explain why there is such a value attributed. So I know you both practice meditation, so.
I think for me, yeah, after diagnosis, it's a moment where I can just kind of stop and slow everything down and really reflect, as Rachel was saying, you know, pick an intention. And it just is, and I can do it anywhere, even if I'm, you know, waiting for results in the oncology waiting room. Close my eyes, and it just helps me just to settle myself. It just brings so much more peace and calm to my life. I can't imagine not doing it at this point. It's so beneficial. I don't know, Rachel, what you have to say about that, but
yeah, everything that you said, and I do know, and this is actually what is so amazing about this, is that it's been scientifically validated, is that meditation and yoga actually have the ability to calm the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps our bodies to go into healing. And so Jon Kabat-Zinn is somebody who I definitely recommend checking out his work. And then there's lots of other organizations that continue to do work studying the benefits of meditation. So yeah, it's amazing, amazing for you. And
Calming.
yes,
Yes.
exactly.
It brings it can give you a sense of calm when there seems to be so much chaos around. And you know, it can be 10 minutes a day. There's some great apps. I use the Breathe app. I love that app. I'll do a meditation in my bath. You know, if I don't have much time in one day, I'll do 5 minutes, but at least I'll do something. And it just kind of, I guess, resets. And then I feel like, okay, I'm grounded. Now I can pick up and go do my day.
Yeah. The other thing is that when you're able to come into a space where you're not involved with your thoughts, you step into the present moment. So when we're in our thoughts, we're typically in the future or the past. We're not right here, right now. And so we can't do anything about the past because it's done and the future hasn't happened yet. So we can worry about it, we can be scared about it. But when we meditate, we come into the present moment, which brings us here now, which gives us a sense of control and comfort and all of the other wonderful things that Myra mentioned.
Thank you so much. I have time for 2 more questions. So I have a question here for Myra. Would you recommend a book that really made a difference in your life?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't really read a book on gratitude. I read so many different books. I generally, I think everything that I've gotten as far as practicing gratitude is all through the internet. There's a few blogs out there that are really good. There's Savannah Spirit. They just have like these inspirational quotes, or just, you know, me just sitting in the morning and having a cup of coffee and looking at quotes through Pinterest and finding, you know, one that's going to be suited for my nephew, or, you know, my friends, or whoever it is. I just find there's just so much available on the internet. I know there are books out there on gratitude. The names of them don't come to mind, but I haven't purchased one. So I've just kind of been doing this in my own way, what feels right to me. And I've got years of journal writing with quotes. So when I go back and I read them, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that time. It was a really hard time, and I got through it. And these quotes helped me get through it. So yeah, I don't really have a book that I could suggest. So, but I'm sure you could find lots out there.
Thank you, Myra. And I have one more question for Rachel. It's a 2-part. So first and foremost, if you can repeat the names of the yoga teachers that you had mentioned. And secondly, are there any yoga poses that are beneficial for the lungs?
Awesome. Thank you so much for the question. So I mentioned Seane Corn, who is a woman named Seane, and she talks a lot about some of the, I guess, stereotypes of yoga. And she talks a lot about bringing yoga off the mat and into the world. And in fact, she has a website, I think it's called Off the Mat, so offthemat.com. So that's one of them. The other one, Jai Dev, teaches Kundalini yoga, which a lot of Kundalini yoga is done seated. So that might be something worth checking out. It's a lot of repetitive movements to get energy flowing in the body. And he's in California, and his name is spelled Jai, and then Dev is Deb, and I think his last name is Singh. And then the other one, Wesley Salter. So I think his website is wesleyyoga.com, but it's only got one Y. So it's Wesley, WesleyYoga.com. And he teaches both yoga and Qigong, and he's absolutely wonderful. And then the other one, the other part of the question yoga beneficial for the lungs? All of yoga is beneficial for the lungs because you are expanding the lungs. Sometimes some of the twisting postures can be really good for the lungs because you're massaging the internal organs, including the lungs. But anything that you can do to focus on expanding the lungs. So if you're breathing and your eyes are closed, just envisioning those lungs expanding will help that to happen. And so opening up your ribs, opening up especially this heart space here can be really helpful, because any compression is going to block the lungs from expanding. So the more open you are, the more the lungs will expand. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank everyone for participating today and for asking your questions. It was very much appreciated. I'd also like to take another chance to thank Rachel and Myra for being here today and for sharing with us. I know that these are difficult times for many of us, and we really appreciate you both sharing your experiences and your expertise. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would like to remind everyone, Myra, if you can change the slide for me, I really appreciate that. I just want to let everyone know that if you have any specific questions regarding COVID-19 and your blood cancer diagnosis, or if you require any special resources, we ask that you reach out to our community engagement managers by email at canadainfo@lls.org or by calling toll free at 1-833-222-4884. You can also go to our website, llscanada.org, for some more information on our COVID-19 Resource Center. You may also want to review our past webcasts on related topics such as COVID-19, What You Need to Know Now with virologist Dr. Vin, or you might also want to check out COVID-19, Looking After Your Mental Health with psychiatrist Dr. Megan Rodway. So thank you very much, everyone. Please note that a short survey will be sent to all the participants after this webcast. It would be greatly appreciated if you'd fill it in, as it really helps us to offer you the most valuable information in the future. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful day and stay safe, everyone.